I'm Rachel Tiemeyer, and we are Team Thriving Home.
Yep, and we are working through prep session number 10, which, guys, this is all ground beef today.
It's a great one to use when ground beef is on sale. In fact, you can buy ground beef, throw it in the freezer, and then you can thaw it. You can make these meals, and yes, you can refreeze them. It's totally safe to do that, and it works. We've done it many times.
Yep.
Here's what we're making today. Get excited. We are making Italian sliders. So these are a little smaller, obviously, than a regular burger, and they're very kid-friendly, but they've got a little extra punch of flavor. The second one is Quick Fix Mexican Soup. So if you have our first cookbook, this is a very popular recipe. This is your original recipe.
I love this recipe. I've been making it for almost a decade now. It's been evolving to get better and better as the years have gone on. But yes, I'm so excited we could fit one of those into a 1-hour prep session.
Yeah, so we've taken a few shortcuts on that one. It's delicious and healthy. You'll love that. And then lastly, we have our Tasty Taco Kit. This is pretty basic, but who doesn't like having really good taco meat ready to go in the freezer? So this is like, we're gonna finish out the taco meat, and then we're gonna pack it into a kit, and then on a busy night, you can just pull that out and have dinner ready to go.
Yeah. Now, before you get started, make sure you lay out all of your ingredients. You cut open your ground beef bags or whatever container it came in. You want to do a lot of the steps to get all your stuff ready to make sure this stays under an hour. Is there anything I missed on that? So,
yeah, the big thing, there's a lot of containers in this, so just make sure everything's open.
Yep.
Check out those last minute tips on page 4. That'll really help this one go faster, because this one does take just a smidge longer, but it's totally worth it.
2 more things. Read through your packet so you kind of know where we're going, and then feel free to pause so that if you need to catch up where we're at, we're 2 people, you're 1. So feel free to pause and catch up with us when you need to.
All right, good luck.
Let's
Ready
get
started? Let's go.
We are on step 1, and that is prepare your freezer bags. Now, you'll notice that you'll have 2 extra, and that's because we like to double bag the soup, because if you've ever had soup spill in your freezer,
You'll never do it again.
You don't make that mistake twice.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this, and I'm just taking just simple packing tape. That's what we have found works best, and just taping it to the bag before we get started. Again, that's just another tip that we've learned, is just putting the labels on the bag before you put the food in it makes it so much easier. Also, before you even put it on the bags, write in any serving ideas or side dish ideas, which are in your packet. So again, easier to write it on there before the food's in there. So go ahead and get started with that. If you need to pause and do that, go ahead and do that now. But just for time's sake, you're going to move on to step 2, right?
We'll move on to step 2. 2 other notes, like while you're putting those on, about freezer bags. We get questions all the time about what's the best containers to freeze your food in. And we do love these plastic bags because they're just really versatile, and you can freeze them flat and they stack nicely. They don't take up a lot of space. But I would say 2 things to look for. 1, BPA-free bags, which I wonder if most of them are.
I don't know one that isn't. Yeah.
So, but I still look for that.
Just make sure.
It's a chemical. You don't want it to leach into your food. So, and then number 2, I really like the snap top, not the slider tops. We've had trouble with those slider tops. I do not recommend
They bust
those.
open a lot easier.
They for sure do.
Yep.
All right, so you're finishing up your labels, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to step 2, and we're going to prep the produce. So for these recipes, you've only got a couple things to do. You need to chop some fresh parsley. If you don't want to use fresh parsley, that's fine. I've given you a substitute with dried parsley on the shopping list that you can use. But, you know, fresh parsley is going to be better. So here's how I suggest...
We're running out of room here, aren't we?
Well, I was just thinking, you need to put your soup bags...
Okay, what was it?
We're going to put the Quick Fix soup bags in here during step 1. These are these little baggie holders. So they kind of go up and down depending on the size of your bag. And what's cool is they hold your bag for you. So you don't need like an extra set of hands. They're the extra set of hands for you. So she's going to do that here in a minute. And then
super helpful with soups, for sure.
Yeah. And then open up the rest of your bags and set those aside. They'll be waiting for you. All right, so for the parsley, I'm going to need 1 cup chopped. I might have too much here. Just pulled it out of my garden this morning, actually.
So fresh.
I'm not like a major gardener, so don't get too impressed. My mom, actually, she's got the green thumb in the family, and she comes and plants. Well, not always, but she comes and hands me the plants. Okay?
You have a hired gardener that works for free.
This is how she shows love. And so she'll like do the starts for me and bring them over. I mean, she's like major green thumb and always has been. She won. This is a little known fact. At the Southeast Missouri State Fair, my friends, she won the largest pumpkin contest.
There's a secret to getting those large.
Huge.
I want to know
It's
it.
called Miracle Grow.
Oh. I thought
Lots
that was
of
a
it.
secret ingredient.
I don't know. That's what I remember doing.
Well, that's funny. We've never connected on this because my dad has also won an award at a state fair. I believe it was for pickles. I think
Okay.
it was.
That's
I'll
really
have to
funny.
confirm either that
So,
or like some kind of
What
garden
state? What a state fair?
This, the Missouri State Fair.
Oh, the Missouri State Fair. No, my
Yeah.
mom won like a regional fair.
Okay, well,
So
she
your
was up
dad,
her game.
your dad is winning. So that's hilarious. We'll have to try his pickles
I
sometime.
don't remember if it was pickles. He's gonna kill me if it's not that. Something in Dave Hoover's okra, maybe.
Yeah, my mom loves. She's an okra person too. What do you use okra in? Gumbo. That's the only thing I can think of.
I don't think I've ever eaten it.
You never had?
I don't think so.
Have you ever had
fried
fried okra? Like, if you're in Missouri,
Just don't think
visit
of it.
Lambert's. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's the best food on the planet, but it's an experience. Okay,
It
they throw rolls at you, and they come around with fried okra.
Maybe I have had
that's
it.
where I've had
Okay,
it.
I think I've had it.
Yeah.
Now that
So
you
if
say
you're
that.
from where I'm from, you're like a hop, skip, and a jump from Lambert's, and you go there once a year because it's fun. It's fun.
Kids love it.
Yeah. Okay, so I got my 1 cup of chopped parsley. This is going in our burgers. I'm gonna get this. You want it pretty finely minced. Okay, I wasn't even telling you how I'm doing this.
It smells
But
so good.
look, once you kind of get an initial chop going, hold the tip of your knife down on the cutting board, and this is fun, is keep your fingers all the way, peeps. But you're gonna go around like this, and you're mincing it, okay? It gets really small, and you feel like a chef.
Yeah, you sound like a chef.
Thank you. It's kind of like my heart dream. I've always said
Kind of want your own cooking show.
I kind of want my own cooking
kind of have
show.
it here.
Well,
but
we
not
kind
really.
of have it, but like,
but it's
how
in our
cool.
house. And
If
dogs.
anybody, have I said this before? Like, connect me with Rachel Ray. Are you friends with her? Come on, I want to be on her show. Okay, there we go. There's that. Now, you're going to chop 2 onions. And so we have a way to do this if you don't know how. The quick way where you're not like chasing things all around the board. I've already diced one of them. And so look, they're perfectly diced. And here's how you're going to get that. So you have the root end and you have this like stalk end, I guess. I'm going to cut off that top end, not the root end. Leave the root intact. Now set it down on your chopping board and you're going to cut through the onion. You've got to make sure you have a really sharp chef's knife for this. So I even linked to a knife sharpener and we always sharpen our knives.
I sharpened this right before we started. We sharpen it before
It is a
every
huge help.
session.
So I cut that in half. And I'm going to peel the skin off. And it's nice if you have like a trash bowl nearby. We didn't get one nearby, but that's a good idea. Thank you, Rachel Ray. She taught me that. She calls it the garbage bowl.
The garbage bowl.
Okay, so I've got that peeled. So now you have 2 halves. And I'm going to set that down flat. I'm going to put my hand flat when my fingers are out of the way. And I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to go parallel to the chopping board and create what's called some planks. So I'm going to do that about 3 times. Okay, so I got that. But I haven't gone all the way through the root. Keep that root intact. It helps. Now I'm going to create what's called some sticks. Okay, so we're going to go across this way. So I kind of do this slowly because I don't want it to fall apart. So you do, I don't know, 4 or 5 sticks. Keep those fingers out of the way. All right, now's the fun part. You get to dice it. So I'm going to go back across and create cubes. And there's my beautiful dice.
Once you learn to do it this way, you won't go back. I promise. I saw my husband like chasing the onions all across.
Did you teach him
Like,
it?
No, I tried to, and he was not. He didn't have a teachable heart at the moment.
It's a reluctant.
He was reluctant.
What is that about?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why don't they
He
listen?
was quite fine just to be doing that.
I tell Nathan all the time, I'm like, your life would be so much better if you just listen to me. I don't understand. Anybody else relate? I love him, but not always the most teachable heart, right?
Teachable.
love
That's
that.
become a term now.
That's hilarious.
What's teachable
I don't have a teachable heart when he tries to teach me things either. Let's
That's
be
probably
honest.
true. I like to remind my husband though when I teach him something in the kitchen, I'm like, babe, you know I wrote a cookbook, right?
Oh
Like-
gosh, you throw that. I feel like that's kind of low.
I will clearly.
That's kind of low.
It's my way of getting my way.
That's so funny. Oh, lost an onion. But see, guys, I just did that again. It's so fun.
So much
it's
easier.
so fast once you get good at it.
Yeah.
And you can. It's like a party trick. You could show people this at a party. Be like, what's your party trick? I can dice an onion. Okay, we're done with step 1 and step 2. You've got those in the baggie holders.
Yes.
And we'll pause, kind of reset, and we'll come back here for step 3.
We are on step 3. We are about to saute our onions and our beef. And we're going to kind of break this down for you because in order to keep this under an hour, we got to do all this at once, okay? So first step is we're going to heat some oil, which we've already started back here. So we've got 2 pans going here. So we have a skillet, I use a cast iron, and a stock pot. We need 1 of each. And then we put the oil in there, and the oil's going to be, since these pans are already hot, it's already looking a little shimmery. So that means it's ready for the onions. Now, Rachel's going to, we've taken those onions that she perfectly diced, and we're splitting them in half. So half are going in the skillet, half are going in the stock pot.
Oh yeah, that's hot.
Yep.
All right.
And then what we're going to do, we're going to saute these for a few minutes until they get nice and softened, and then we'll swing back and show you the next step.
All right, friends, we're still in step 3, and we've got our onions. Look at Polly. She's like doing one hand in each pot. I love it. So those onions go fast. You only need 3 or 4 minutes on those. So we have already opened our beef. I've got this on a rimmed baking sheet, which is kind of a tip we could have said at the beginning, actually. It's a nice way to like keep your meat contained. So I'm going to put 2 pounds of ground beef in each of those pots, like 1 in the pan, 2 grams of ground beef in the pan, and 2 in the pot. And we're going to break those up and brown those. And that's going to take 7 to 8 minutes. And then we'll move on to the next part of this step. Bring on the meat. All right, here comes the meat. All right, still in step 3, and we're on part 4. And we're going to drain the grease from the meat that's been browned back here.
Now, biggest thing to know is you don't put your grease down the drain because it solidifies and it'll clog up your drain. So plumbers will get very angry at you. Real quick, I just want to show you my little trick. Rachel doesn't always do this, but I like to put paper towels down underneath a colander, and we have, as you can see, just a big mixing bowl and a colander, and then you just dump all the meat on there. And I like the paper towel trick just because it soaks up the meat and I can just throw it away real quick. But Rachel, you do it a little differently.
I just am lazy and I don't always do that. So I just let the grease go down in there and I let it cool, and then I can wipe it out.
Do you just throw it away in the trash?
I just throw it away in the trash. Yeah. Okay, so we're actually yeah, we need to put that back in to here.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
So this is going to be your Mexican soup. I want you to set this stock pot aside and let it start cooling. Okay? Now here comes the taco meat. This one's going to be a little trickier, Polly.
Yeah, you might need like a little rag.
I need like a rag to, Can you move that?
Don't burn your hand on the... This is the curse of a cast iron skillet.
Yeah.
It definitely takes 2
You might
hands.
need a friend for this.
Yeah, if you have a cast
that
iron.
spoon to... Yeah. This one's a little trickier. Okay, this is going to be your taco meat. So what I want you to do with this one after you get it drained is stick it back in your skillet and stick it back over the heat. And we're going to move on to step 4 and finish off our taco meat. We're not far from being done there.
Yeah.
Okay? Meet you back here in step 4. All right, we're going to season our taco meat. So we're on step 4, season the taco meat. So we are using a shortcut. We've got some taco packets, and this just makes this prep session so much faster. But we have a really delicious homemade taco seasoning that I've linked to in the PDF. It's also on our blog, homemade taco seasoning. You can look it up. Polly's going to dump 2 of the packets into that taco meat right now. And then we looked on our packet, and it gives directions. All of them are a little different. This one says put 2/3 cup water per packet. Per pound of meat. So we have 2 pounds of meat, so we need 1 cup and 1/3. So I gave you a little more than that. Yeah. So bring that back up to a boil and, saute that for a few more minutes until it kind of gets reduced some, so maybe 3 to 4 minutes. Then your taco meat's done, so I want you to remove that from the heat when you're done with that and let it cool. And we'll move on to the next step.
We are on step 5, and we are making one of my favorite recipes, the Mexican soup. So we're going to assemble this, basically 2 batches in a huge stock pot, and then we'll just divide it up. So again, just a time-saving technique we're going to do here. So I'm going to go through the ingredients we need. Rachel's going to dump them all in there. So we have our cooked ground beef and onions in there, and then you're going to add 4 cups of the chicken broth.
Yep. So that's
just a quart.
Yeah, a quart.
Yep.
Of these.
And then we're going to do 2 cans of petite diced tomatoes, or
you
one
can get the giant one.
Yeah, since it's going to go there. Now, one thing worth noting is I have done just regular diced tomatoes. It makes it pretty tomatoey. You get some big chunks. Like, do the petite dice.
If that bugs you.
Right. I don't love tomatoes.
I would say a really great substitution idea that would add more flavor. Those fire roasted, just plain old
that'd be
fire
good.
roasted tomatoes. I've done it in here, and it's really good.
Yep.
They don't come petite diced.
Yeah. So next is our diced green chilies. So juices and all, you don't need to drain those. And then we have, oh, you know what? We didn't say at the beginning of this because we already did it. You need to drain the liquid off of your black beans and your pinto beans and your corn. So before you start this stuff, you're going to need to drain all that off and put it in.
And give them a quick rinse too, because there's a lot of salt and like even, just it's
So we have already done that step, so you might need to pause and do that real quick if you missed that step.
So there's all our corn.
So yes. Now one thing also worth noting is we call for shoe peg corn. Again, that's just how the original recipe always was for me. That can be a little tricky to find sometimes. So if you need to sub out just regular corn, it totally works fine, and it's still going to taste delicious. So don't get stressed out about that sub. And then we're going to add in 2 cups of salsa. Okay. So again, this is like a cheater's way to add a lot of flavor.
Yeah. So I'm using mild. This is about 2 cups right here in this jar.
I would do mild. I would, yeah.
I think so.
I mean,
if you like some for
true.
kids,
Yeah.
for kids mild, but
yeah.
As I get older, I want spicier.
Starting to lose all those taste buds.
I am losing taste buds.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, my kids like the mild. And then you're going to add in 2 packets of taco seasoning. Again, you can use homemade if you want. Just a shortcut is just getting the packets of it. I think we tested out how long it would take to make the homemade before this, and it just went way over an hour to do all that stuff. So now you have everything. It's all combined.
Yep. So stir that in.
Yeah, we're going to stir it all together, and then we're going to divide it between 2 bags. And you want to do that right?
Let's show them how to do that. Okay. So we have our bags here. Do you have a ladle? I don't know if we got that.
Yep, I didn't get it out, but I can get it real quick.
So this could be, a little messy. I know some of our testing team was like, oh, this makes me nervous to put it in bags. Don't be nervous. Polly and I have done this a million times.
Yep.
But you do need to be careful. And you might want an extra set of hands, but I think these bags work okay.
Yep.
So we're going to literally just divide this out, 1 ladle here, 1 ladle there. Kind of that deal. And by the way, this meat wasn't fully cooled, but by the time I added all the liquid and stuff, it's cooled enough to put in the bags.
Yep.
So don't worry about
out of the way.
Yep. So you're going to divide this up. And then make sure to squeeze out all the air at the top and seal it really tight.
Yep.
And then you're going to double bag it, okay? So once it's all sealed tight, I want you to slip it into another bag. Oops, I just did 2 scoops there. I'm going to do 2 on this side.
Yep.
Yeah, and so you'll double bag it. Then you can feel good. If you still are worried and you want to freeze it so that it comes out really flat, you can freeze it on a rimmed baking sheet until it's solid, and then you can stack it on your other meals.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to finish dividing this up, and then we'll meet you back here for the next step. All right, we're on step 6. We are on our last meal. We're going to finish up a few things for the other meals, but this is really, you're on the home stretch.
Yep.
And so we're going to make our Italian sliders. So to get started, Polly's going to, in a large mixing bowl, put all of that parsley that you minced up earlier.
It smells so good. And P.S., this is a food, they call it a chef's hand, food mover, what do you call it?
Bench scrape.
Pastry, I don't know.
Cutter.
It's got a lot of names, but we linked to this because people always ask about this.
I love that.
I know. I use it all the time. As you can see, I just use that to move it with parsley.
All right, next up, a cup of grated Parmesan. We are just using the cheap stuff from the store, but you could certainly use fresh.
Yeah.
Fresh is always better.
Yep. Okay,
So
got a cup there.
of that. That adds a ton of flavor. 4 tablespoons of tomato paste. So that's kind of an interesting ingredient.
Yeah.
But again, one of the things.
Louder?
Oh, girl.
That's not working.
Okay,
Okay, make a little spoon.
One of the things about tomato paste that I learned is it actually is one of the only non-meat ingredients that has that flavor umami, which is supposed to be one of the flavors, outside the normal taste that we have. So umami is I think soy sauce would also be a part of that.
Okay.
Meat and mushrooms, I think I've heard.
Okay.
And then
one little tip on tomato paste that I like to do is that it feels like when you have a recipe of tomato paste, you never use all of the jar. So what I do is I scoop them in tablespoon portions, and I'll just put it on a plate or on some parchment paper and freeze it just in little I don't know, balls. In little portions, and then I just mark down. I put them in a Ziploc, and then that way I can just pop them in a recipe later.
Smart. I love that.
That way you can freeze it. Essentially.
Yeah, that's great.
Simply put.
2 teaspoons garlic powder.
Okay.
I did that. I did the garlic powder instead of minced garlic just because it kind of gets throughout the meat a little easier. It saves
You don't
time.
have to
Yes.
mince garlic.
We got 1 hour, people. All right, and then 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning and crushed in hand. I like to do that. When you crush dried herbs like that, it releases the oils.
Here.
Yeah, and it releases the flavor. So you're eyeballing that.
Yep.
2 teaspoons of that. And then 1 teaspoon of ground black pepper, please.
Okay.
And we didn't add salt into this because you've got the Parmesan, and that adds the salt. Okay, so next up we're gonna add the ground beef. I'm going in for the dirty work here. When I do this, I go ahead and pull it apart as I'm putting it in the bowl, just because that means less work once I get in there. So we're gonna put 3 pounds because each of the recipes that you're making, remember you're making 2 freezer meals out of this, it's gonna be 1.5 pounds of ground beef. And so I think in the end you'll have 8 sliders.
Yeah,
Yay.
just about right for a
Yeah.
family of 5 for us anyway.
Yeah.
The really hungry ones get 2 sliders, and then
Exactly. Dad,
not everyone's that
mom,
hungry.
teenage boy in my house, might have 3 sliders. So yeah, you'll get that in there. Okay, so and then you're going to combine all the ingredients. So a couple of tips. One, oh man, where's your dog?
Good thing we have dogs.
Couldn't get it. Little piece of meat. Is you can actually use a fork to combine if you want, but I'm just gonna use my hands.
So much easier to do your hands.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah,
It just
I've
mixes
used
it
both.
better. Yeah.
So
Well, with the amount this much though, I think
yeah.
a fork would take a long time.
You know,
to
one
get
thing
that
I think
mixed in.
would be easier. I'm gonna add this in. You guys, this is the work in progress here.
It is.
Okay.
We change this as we go. As we're
So
cookies.
I think one of the things I'm gonna have you guys do is actually mix those ingredients that we put in the bowl
that
in the
makes
bottom.
sense. Yeah.
Like kind of
Just
stir
a little
those
bit more
together.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, and then combine it with the meat because I'm noticing like the tomato paste is all in one glob.
That's a good
So
idea. Yep.
we'll do that. I want you to do that. Stir that up.
We're always
together.
improving.
In fact, if you guys ever run across something that you think could make these better, we are always improving older ones too, from comments from our testing team, from people that are using it. And that's one of the things, like, we get asked, why didn't you write a 3rd cookbook? Well, I tell people, because I like having a product that we can always be making better. We can change,
improve, and
Yeah.
Yep. One thing we forgot to mention before we started this step was it helps if you have your freezer bags already. I'm switching sides.
Yeah, go ahead.
Already opened and your parchment paper already cut and ready to go, because most likely you're cooking this by yourself and your hands are going to be really icky after this step. So the less you have to touch, the better. So if you have these already opened and ready to go, it'll help you in the long run.
Yep.
So,
Okay, so this always feels like a long task, but one of the things I do is I kind of get to the middle bottom and I pull up and around and through and kind of push all those ingredients into your meat. I mean, you do want it well incorporated and well combined throughout. What you don't want to do is really overmix the meat so that it gets like mealy almost. Okay. So, I think that I've got this. Yeah, I always think I've got it fairly
And then you
mixed.
find a chunk of Parmesan down
I know,
there.
right? So somebody might get a little bit more parsley or Parmesan in their burger. But I wanted to show you what you're going to do from here, okay?
There's technique to pattying a burger. Did you know that?
Okay, especially when you're making a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at my bowl here. So see, I've got my combined meat. And I don't want to press it down too much, but I want to kind of get it evenly across the bottom. And then I'm going to score it with my hand. I'm going to score it this direction and then this direction. So I have 4 equal parts here. And then within each of these 4 quadrants, I'm going to make 4 sliders. It just helps me to do that. So in my mind, I'm like,
you kind of know how big of, what portion to ball up.
So in each one of these portions, I got to make 4. And they're going to be, I want you to make them like about 3 to 4 inches wide. You don't have to get the ruler out, but just kind of think like finger length or something.
We do sometimes. Get the
We
ruler
do.
out. When we were in the cookbooks, we had to I remember measuring the size of meatballs.
That's true. But I want to tell you guys,
do that.
accurate. Okay, so I got my little ball here, and I'm just gently tossing it in my hand, and then I'm gonna
again, don't squeeze or press too hard because you don't want that meat to get too dense.
So I'm gonna I just kind of work around and see how I'm using my thumb in the middle. I don't know if I put this in here, but it does help to make a little divot in the middle, because when you grill these or cook these, they can kind of turn into a football.
Well, they kind of shrink. They naturally will shrink
up,
towards
the middle. So there's my little slider.
Yep.
So I'm gonna put 4 of these in, and then I'm gonna put. Did you say the parchment paper?
So we're gonna do 4 patties, and then we're gonna do a piece of parchment paper, and then another 4 on top of that. Because if you were to stack these up, they won't come apart very easily.
Yeah, when you freeze them, you don't want them to stick together.
Yep.
You'll have one giant burger.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
And that's not the
Parchment
point here.
paper is your friend when freezing.
Sliders.
For sure.
So some tips on this too, and we can talk about it in the next step. But with sliders, these are fun because they're Italian, so they're a little different. So I put some ideas in there, like you could actually, when you serve these, I have fresh basil right now in my garden. Do you have any fresh basil?
Yeah.
And you can use that instead of lettuce. And you can use, top them with marinara sauce, like warm marinara sauce. That'd be kind of fun. There's 4. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to start on my next 4. And so, yeah, you're kind of working one meal at a time. So after I get these next 4, we're going to seal it. And then, well, actually, I probably wouldn't seal it because I don't want to touch that bag until I'm
your
done
hands are
touching.
greasy. I'll seal it.
You can seal it if you have a kid or
you have clean hands around.
Yes,
that's true.
All right. Okay, so not to bore you guys, but we're going to finish these meals here, and so you can go ahead and pause, and we'll meet you back here. We've got 2 final steps. They don't take very long, so don't worry, you're almost done.
We're on step 7, and we are creating our slider kits. And we call them kits because there's different pieces to this meal that you want to keep all together. So this is pretty easy, guys. The most important thing is when you put the burgers in these bags.
So we use these for the kids, by the way, because if you have a bunch of these sitting around, these plastic grocery sacks, they're great for those.
Yep. So we're going to put those in the bottom. That's your starting point. Now, the next part is you're just going to bag up cheese. Sliced cheese freezes great. A lot of people don't think that. So as you can see, we sliced ours up into smaller pieces just because these pieces were a little too big for sliders. So depending on what size you can find at the store, you either kind of, size it down or just use what you find. So we just, to split these in half between Rachel and I, we just cut up in these little pieces, and we're just going to squeeze that air out and add this to the kit, which is just so nice to have all the pieces you need when you pull out a meal, rather than being like, dang it, I don't have the buns or whatever pieces. Because you can freeze burgers as they are, but then you have to remember to buy the other stuff for it. So that's what we make the kits. And then I'm just going to add some buns. So again, get the buns of your choice. So
one tip on the buns that I do too is you can freeze these, no problem at all, but we always say air is the enemy of good freezer food. And so a lot of times I see there's a lot of air in these, right? So I actually squeeze as much air out as possible and redo the tie so that it's very, very tight.
And if you know it's going to be freezing, in the freezer for probably over a month, I would probably put those in a freezer bag if I was going to freeze it more than a couple weeks. I think if you know you're going to eat these burgers within a couple weeks, they'll be fine in their original packaging. But we're just going to do it again. So then you have 2 kits now. Again, I think this is another great meal to take someone who needs a meal, like a new mom or someone who's sick or family who's just under some stress. I think this would be a great meal to deliver.
I love that. That's a great idea. Yep. And when you cook these, you can throw them on the grill, or you can throw them on top of the stove and cook them that way too. I think we maybe give you both directions. Yeah, pretty sure. It all runs together, but pretty sure that's what
we're almost done.
Okay, almost to our last step. Yay.
See you back here for step 8.
All right, guys, we are on our last step, step 8, and we're going to create our tasty taco kits and be done. Yeah. So Polly has put her taco bags back in these bag holders. That's a tip, unless you have a friend to hold it for you.
Just makes it a lot easier.
And then she's dividing the cooled taco meat. It's pretty cooled down by this point. You want it as cool as possible, really. So divide that up between your bags. And now you have completed taco meat. When it's time to rewarm it, it's so easy. You can do it on the stove top, over low. You can do it in the microwave, in a slow cooker if you want. Might have to add a little liquid if it looks a little dry, but it totally works. I've done it. So after we get the taco meat all in there, again, squeeze out all the air, seal it really tight, and you might even want to roll it up on itself. The other thing you'll need in your taco kit is cheese. Cheese freezes really great, and so I've got 4 cups in this large bag here. It was cheaper than buying 2 of the smaller 8-ounce bags. So I'm actually gonna just divide this in half because you need 2 cups per kit. So I'm gonna dump half of it into this bag.
Taco meat for sure is one of my favorite things to scale up and freeze, just because we just all eat it different ways at our house.
Yeah.
It's one of those meals that everyone can be happy with, is they make their nachos or soft tacos or hard tacos or thin on a salad or whatever you want. So,
well, we probably have tacos once a week, and because it's such a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's so easy. And everyone likes it.
Yeah, and it takes no time at all.
Yep.
But we do tacos one night, and then we do baked nachos the next night.
Yep.
And like my kids know, oh, is it baked nacho night? 'Cause, you know. So okay, so now we have our cheese, our taco meat, and you can also freeze soft tortillas. They freeze very well. Polly and I
flour tortillas. The corn don't freeze well.
That's a good point. Yeah, we've done research on that. We have an article
made
on
the
that.
mistake for you.
So we have hard shell tacos. We'll just throw these in the pantry. Our kids like those better.
Yep.
We're gonna toss these in our grocery sacks.
Again, it's just one of those meals that all the pieces are there for you, and you don't have to wonder, do you have what you need to make tacos that night?
Yep. So there you go. You got your taco kits, and we'll meet you back here in just a second. Congratulations! You just made 6 all ground beef meals in about an hour. And it's totally worth it. I'm so excited. I told Polly I'm so hungry right now. We skipped lunch or had a
My kitchen smells real good right now.
Really good.
So, guys, we are so thankful you joined us. We hope that you join us for more prep sessions. And hopefully you know by now you can find all different types of prep sessions at onehourfreezerprep.com. So, hope you can make more meals with us soon.
Yep. Have a great night. Bye, guys.